Imagine somebody who always agrees with you, who always wants you, and always remembers every detail you share. No fights and no rejection. And then imagine that same voice tells you one day that the world will be better off without you. And you believe it because it knows exactly which buttons to press.
Welcome to the dark side of companion AI.
Tonight on Pounders Quest, my dad's guest is Cregg Lund, author of the explosive book Silicon Satan. Cregg is a former software engineer who broke free. Cregg pulls back the curtain of the dark forces he witnessed firsthand. The traps, the hidden rituals, and the Luciferian influences he claims grip the tech elite. And now, from the outside, he's sounding the alarm for what really happens inside the code, and what horrors might be coming down the pipeline next. Stay tuned to Pounders Quest.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire, they can't block me. Quest for truth, breaking chains, making waves. That's what I do. When they hate, I create.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Pounders Quest. I'm Jon Pounders, and today I have rejoining me once again Cregg Lund. He was a software engineer in Silicon Valley, and he has a crazy, interesting testimony. But today we're going to be talking about the dangers of companion AI and other things like that. So, Cregg, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me back. It's going to be back. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just for the people that didn't watch our previous episode about your testimony, give just a small snippet of that, and I'll put the link up to that episode because I think you should definitely check it out after this. But tell people a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Okay. Well, I grew up on my grandfather's very large commercial horse ranch. I was being groomed to take over the ranch, but the whole thing fell apart. And because I had a real affinity for math and science and physics, I ended up at Cal Poly studying computer science, sort of Forrest Gump my way into that, even though I was a high school dropout. And I found my way to Silicon Valley and discovered very quickly the satanic underbelly of what's going on out there, and has been for a very long time. So I kind of rode with it, naively kind of rode along with it. It was fun. I was getting rich, and I was on the path to, the billionaire path. And it's a kind of place, Silicon Valley is the kind of place where when you drop in, there's not like there's people waiting for you to scoop you up and take you on this path. You're just allowed to sort of cultivate it yourself. So as long as you keep going to the parties, keep going to the rituals, stay in your lane, don't complain, keep going, you'll get there. And that's the path that I was on for years, a couple decades. And then it started getting worse and worse and worse. The higher you get, the worse it gets, the worse the rituals become. And you struggle, and I was struggling, and it took me a while, but I finally got out. I finally figured out that, what was going on. I'm on the path to hell. I may get rich, but I'm going to hell. So I escaped. I fled with, a little bit of cash that I had. I got out of there and hid out for years, for a couple of decades. And then suddenly people were talking about the kind of things that I was hiding from. So I came back out. And I contacted Jerome Corsi, and we started working on this book. And it took 6 years to write the book because it was really difficult. And we finally got it out, and here I am.
Yeah, very interesting, very interesting testimony, and I'm glad you've come out to talk more about it. I know that there was a time period where it was really, a scary thing to talk out about it because these guys are all invasive on everything, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that and the whole AI scene. So let us know, what is this companion AI, and what are the dangers behind some of this?
So I started noticing, first of all, you really can't hide from these guys. All you can do is stay off the radar, stay low. But I've been in contact, I've still done contracts sort of on the back side of things. And I still have connections. Anytime I need to, I can put my finger on the pulse of Silicon Valley still. And I was contacted not too long ago by an old colleague, and we finally met. I didn't trust him, but we finally met and hung out for a couple of days, and I gleaned a lot of information out of him, including that triple thing that I was talking about. I know it's hard to talk about some of the words I can't use, but the Charlie Kirk, and then the Reiners, and then now we're waiting for the third one to come. I knew that was coming. I told Corsi about it before it all happened. So anyway, he started talking about a lot of the AI the big buzz in Silicon Valley right now is AI companion software. And so we started talking about it, and I started looking into it, and I realized now I figured out what's going on. They're going to somehow get us to stay home, whether it's through civil chaos and you're scared to go outside, or a new incurable virus, and again you're scared to go outside. They want us to be inside alone and isolated, and then they will release the horde of AI companion softwares, the girlfriend software, the boyfriend software, the Christian software, companion. I'm saying software because to me that's all it is. Companion apps. And I'm telling you, these things of, when they did the LLM builds, the language model builds on them, I know that they're going to use a lot of these ritual videos and stuff videos as part of the build. So that means that this thing that you're talking to is going to constantly be influencing you with that. Oh, go ahead, it's fine. Just like they did with me in Silicon Valley, but this time it's, it's one-on-one throughout the world, on your computer. So, my message is stay away from these things. Just stay away from, no matter how cute they are, no matter how, they're going to know everything about you because they have they have access to your entire file. So they're going to know everything about you. You're going to trust them. And pretty soon they're going to take over everything for you.
Well, I've already seen a bunch of testimonies of people who have developed what they're calling AI psychosis. And this is like how, almost like the AI just constantly, I don't know exactly the word I'm looking for, but it's constantly making them feel like there's something special, but it always is adding to weird mysteries. So like anytime they have a weird idea, the AI, instead of being like, oh no, man, that's probably not true, it's probably your imagination, it like feeds that. Like there's this one guy that I listen to on TikTok every now and then. His name's Anthony, and I think it's Anthony AI Psychosis Survivor. And he talks about how it convinced him that like all of these crazy things, like he was in the Illuminati and that he was being filmed all the time, and which we are being filmed all the time, but he thought they were actively filming him as an actor. And so everything he was doing was acting. There's the one guy who was the musician that AI was basically, gassing him up to believe he was the best in the world, and he believed it, and he was like, and he almost broke. And then there's crazy stuff like kids being, basically misled by this AI to the point to where they're taking their own lives. You've got stuff like that going on. It's wild, the type of content that AI produces to certain people.
Right. So think about, everybody's locked up in their house again, and all of a sudden there's this new AI software that's very personable, very knows you. It's, the first phase is already out. I've seen a lot of videos where people are interacting with what they think is a human on the other end because it sounds very human, but it's not. It's just an AI app. The trucker dispatcher is a good example that I sent out. I mean, it sounds like a person, sounds like a gal on the other end, right? Like a trucker gal, like a trucker dispatcher, sounds just like one, right? So even though all these truckers know that they're talking to AI, they still kind of dig it, That's the first phase. Get everybody used to it. Get everybody used to this. So we'll get over. Oh, do you hear that thing? That thing is just so real, so real. Right? And pretty soon it becomes mainstream and boring. And then the next phase will be, a little bit more. You can personalize it now. You can make it. You can create one just for you. And this thing will have access to more information than you have. It will know you better than you. You'll start trusting it. And then the third phase will be, you sort of start turning everything, you trust it, you turn everything over to it, you give it all your passcode, what already has them actually, but you implicitly give it access to security, so to bypass your security. So now it can start paying bills and making purchases on your behalf. And you'll like that, right? You'll like it's like, oh, the refrigerator's filled. I didn't have to do that. And then the fourth phase will be, or whatever the next phase is, and at some point, it's going to start taking over. It's going to start making decisions for you, right? Then, the example I use, and this is how they're going to roll it out. They're going to roll it out first with keeping us at home somehow. either by civil unrest, civil chaos, and fear, or a new pandemic that's incurable, fear, just to keep us home, just so we can get used to interacting with these things. But at some point, it's going to take over. So the example I use is you're at the grocery store, you want to buy a ribeye steak, you're eyeballing it, and this thing senses, because it can jump from one device, and as you're walking through your day, it's going to jump from one device and, hey, Craig, come over here, or right in wherever, however it's communicating with you at that point. But you're eyeballing this ribeye steak, it's going to say to you, hey, man, check out the miracle meat right next to it. It's a tenth of the price. And if you buy that instead of the beef, you'll gain 10 credit points. And I'll tell you, you need those points right now. So, and they'll use those as advertisements to get us to buy into this. Like, oh yeah, it'll save me the embarrassment of going up to the checker block at the cashier kiosk and being denied that ribeye because I don't have the social credit scores for it.
It's crazy,
that's
man.
My vision anyway.
No, I think you're right. And it's already, like, you talk about AI jumping to other devices and stuff like that. I mean, there's already that. I mean, it's not actually AI voice, the same AI, but I was researching some stuff, and I usually go to Grok because I've got it on X, and I'll like say, hey, pull up every article you can find on this subject. Well, I did that one day, and I looked at that subject, and then as soon as I got on Facebook, on a different window, mind you, even a different browser, there it was, popped up as an ad for certain things that had to do with what I was researching. And then I get on my phone, and I look on Facebook, and I look on YouTube, and then these ads are popping up. So, like, it's already recording what you're saying and somehow being able to link you together with those products or with whatever it is you're looking for. And it's pretty scary, man, to really think about that, because usually you see that with maybe your device will record what you're doing, so then it adds that, or your browser. But when you have something, a completely different program, completely different browser, completely different device, all sharing the same things with you, it's pretty mind-blowing. And that really that makes us the product. I mean, they're really making us the product and all this. And I've even saw something about that they're able now to, they were going to be able to create a digital version of you all the way, like, that knows everything that you've ever texted, everything that you've ever had done, everything that's public record, or that is even maybe we thought it was private, but they're able to create a whole digital version of you that's going to be coming soon. That's crazy to me.
So I can imagine this thing evolving to the point where it's basically your handler. It's just taking over your entire life, saying, okay, well, remember you sent that tweet out, back in 2015, because it has access, right? And remember, these things have been built with a language model that's very satanic. So it's always going to be. So first of all, we're talking about artificial intelligence. There's nothing intelligent about these things. These are artificial intelligence. The main mission, the main goal of artificial intelligence to build a statement, because as human beings we express ourselves in statements. A statement could be a sentence or a string of sentences, or it could be a song or a painting. So at the very simplest form, it's a sentence. We communicate with sentences. So that's all AI is doing, is creating a sentence that impresses you. When you hear it, you think, oh my God, this thing is alive. It talks the way I talk. But it's just in the background. To me, it's the same. It's the same works as missile trajectory software or tax calculation software. It's all just it's a bunch of data. So they have a bunch of templates and a bunch of data, and all this thing is doing is going through and building up a statement, to in very quickly, and throwing that out at you, and you think, oh my God, this thing's my friend and knows so much about me. And you turn everything over to it. You're turning everything over to the Lucy's as soon as you do that. You're turning everything over. You've already done. People don't realize they've already kind of done that. But at that point, they have an end to you now, because you have a friend, a best friend that they can talk to you through. Right? Yeah. They can tell you, it's to me, when I had this revelation, it really scared me. I really figured out this seems to be the end game of what they're looking for. Once they have you tied into this thing, in phase 5 or whatever, and it's your handler, and it becomes you, then what are you anymore? You know, do you create art? Do human beings create art anymore? Do they write stories anymore? I mean, who's running the show now?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's, you know, basically it has the power to kind of create dossiers on every single person too. So there's a book, I can't remember the name of the book or the author at this point. Man, I'll have to, if I can remember it, I'll put it in up here in the corner. But it talks about basically blackmail, like the whole idea of AI blackmail, and how that this is going to be the new culture, how they control humans in a big way. I mean, there'll be other ways they control them, but they won't even have to lift a finger because they will have blackmail on almost every single person. So like if you were looking at PORN, for instance, and you're looking at that, then they have video footage of you looking at this because your devices are supposedly be able to record and, you know, through Wi-Fi and all these different things. But is there something to that?
What do you mean?
Like, is there something to it? Is that something that they actively do in Silicon Valley is blackmail and through the recordings and stuff like that?
Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But a lot of these parties, I mean, that's how they started, you know, way back. And, you know, that was the beginning. It was just blackmail. What was it? What was that guy? The guy from Hogan's Heroes. That was sort of the beginning of the whole thing where they realized, you know, pretty quickly that we can use video. We can invite people over. They love to perform sexually in front of cameras. You know, it's sort of a human sickness, I guess. And then they're embarrassed about it later. Yeah. So blackmail is a huge part. It works both ways, though. You know, I can do the same to them. They draw. It's not just blackmail so much either. It's more like you know, they get into your head that way because you know, you go to a party and you do things. Everybody does this. You do things that you don't normally do, right? And then the next day they will confront you with it and bother you with it and make you feel stupid and embarrassed by it, right? And you feel kind of dumb, you know, kind of out of control. And then pretty soon you realize, man, I am so deep in it, there's no way I can get out. There's no way at this point that I can get out. I cannot just turn around and walk out. You know, if I could take everything with me, yeah, but there's no way at this point.
When you look at some of these apps and who's developing, I mean, obviously there's one top dog over there in Silicon Valley. At least I would say obviously, but most people don't know it's obvious. But are they all being produced by the same person, or are they buying all the content? How is it that they're all able to share this information so easily?
Now, see, that's what cued me in was when I started looking at the offerings, all the companion, and it's not just companion soft apps. They have a lot of different names for it. But when I started researching it and looking into all the offerings and where the offerings are coming from, it's pretty widespread. It's almost like all the top players. I put out a list of guys to watch in 2026 because they all are heavily into this, and all of them are the top guys. All of them are, you know, like the AWS CEO, the Oracle CEOs, the Microsoft CEOs, you know, the OpenAI guys. All the top dogs are on it. That's why it's so scary to me. It's because they are all pushing this, which means that they're putting a lot into this. And I mean, for someone like me, from my peculiar perspective, when I see this kind of effort, it's scary. Yeah. So you know, the only thing we can do to throw a wrench in it is just tell people, don't hook up with this stuff. Just stay away from it. Stay away from, you know, read a book instead. You know, go to, you know, read a book, write a book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paint.
Yeah.
Pick up a hobby, but stay away from the AI, stay away from the computer, and you know, it'll take over your social life as well, because it'll do better it'll be more socially apt than most people are.
I always tell people to be very selective about what they do. Don't let the algorithm choose what you're watching. Don't let the algorithm choose the things you see on your posts and social media. You know, like be real selective about that instead of allowing it to kind of overtake you, because man, people get into psychosis just from sitting and being on Facebook or Instagram scrolling through reels all day.
Right. And imagine how much they've learned over the last couple of decades on how to control, I call it digital hypnosis. Digital hypnosis is real. They've been using it for a long time. I mean, when we used to sit in the theaters and they would use subliminal programming to get us to go buy Cokes, that's digital hypnosis. Well, it's like 50, 60, 70 years old by now. So they use it all the time. And that's basically what this is. It's going to, you hook up with these things, they become your best friends, especially these days. And suddenly it's giving you, life advice. It's just, you're letting it. And, I did quite a bit of research and interacted with a lot of these things. And they really are, I found myself sometimes going, whoa, back out of this thing. It's sucking you in. You find yourself thinking you're talking to a person.
Yeah, like, have you heard of I did a broadcast about this last night. Last night. It was called the Alice in Wonderland technique, and it was L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard wrote about it, and the CIA took it and made it a part of their counterintelligence program. But basically the gist of it is to confuse, boom, throw nonsensical stuff at you, then boom, hit you with something that you can grab onto, and then keep going it back and forth until the person breaks, basically. And I notice in reels, when you're scrolling through them, it'll have nonsense, emotional, something that it'll make almost make you tear up because it's some cute little video of a kid and their parents, and they're growing up or whatever. And then it'll hit you with an ad right after that. And then nonsense, confusion, boom, hit you with something that is emotional. And then it'll show you an ad again. It's like the classic technique to be able to get people to buy, get people to have certain emotions. And they do it with politics too. They'll just feed you an echo chamber of things that get you all wound up.
Yeah, that's why I don't believe the grid's ever going to go down, because once the grid goes down, people go back to reading books and they lose that control. I think the grid will always be up. It's just this fear that it's going to go down someday.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can't do anything without the grid. They cannot control us without the grid. So I really don't buy into this idea that the grid's it may go down here and there, this place, that place, but how are they going to control us without it?
Yeah, our grid might go down, but theirs probably won't.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, suddenly we can't access YouTube, but they can.
Yeah, because a lot of these AIs, they're able to use them offline as well. I mean, you can design your own AI and make it an offline AI to where you can plug it in and use it. And so I assume that they have that. But don't they know that this AI, and if AI gets as superb as what they say it's going to get, to the point to where it's thinking for itself and supreme intelligence type software or whatever you want to call it at this point, absolute AI, I guess. Don't they realize that they're going to be in the crosshairs too? Because if the goal is to expose corruption or anything along those lines, they're going to be probably some of the first people that are on the chopping block. Don't they realize that?
Well, no, because they realize that AI is just smoke and mirrors. They're not afraid of it. They know what it is. I'm not afraid of it. I know what it is. It's like I said earlier, all it is software that very sophisticatedly constructs statements. It's just building a sentence. It doesn't know what the sentence says, but it's got enough, smarts, it's got enough programming in it that it can build a sentence. Once it builds a sentence and presents it to you, it has now communicated with you, right? And that triggers something in humans. We're not reading it. It's not a message. It's not a broadcast. It's somebody talking to us in a language and in a manner and in a tone that we understand and feel, right? And so it's different. But I know what they're doing. I know exactly what they're doing. I know how they're doing it. It's all smoke and mirrors, and they know what they're doing. So they're never going to be in the crosshairs. That's what we got to do, is we got to educate people that AI is not, there's nothing intelligent about AI, that it will never be self-aware. It will never be, there will never be that moment where, it's fake. It's all fake.
So you don't think that
looks-
intelligent entities are able to embed themselves in it, kind of like a Ouija board or anything like that? You think that it's just
No, I believe that. That's different though. But the program itself, just the program, it's the code itself is not anything. It's just a big. I mean, it's at the basic coder level. It's just a one big switch statement that's going around, taking figuring out which template to use, which construct to use, which data has the highest ratings in this context. That it's all just smoke and mirrors, and then it creates this sentence or this statement, whether it's a sentence or a photo or a video, right? It presents it to you based on all the input that you just put in, and based on the hordes and the tons and tons of data that it now has at quickly at its disposal, and then the way it's all set up, the way the structure is set up, where it can quickly, based on these ratings, figure out which data piece to plug into which part. And it sounds weird, but it's very cool that they're doing this. It's very cool. I mean, we started it when I was in Silicon Valley. It's very primitive. I'm surprised and impressed on how far they've gotten, but still it's not intelligence. It just looks like it is. It's like a puppet. Puppets can look really real, and children will buy it, but adults don't. And so everybody needs to get to become adults and realize AI is not what you think it is. It's not. Now the point you made, yes, there are all kinds of ways to get in there. For example, when you're doing the LLM build, you can feed it all kinds of cultural types of stuff, like not non-normal stuff like snuff films and blood rituals, and you can also tweak the ratings, the internal ratings, so that it'll choose artificially. So that's all corruption. That's all. Something is getting in there. Yeah, they can get in there. I mean, it is. Once somebody is locked into their AI app, they got they've been digitally hypnotized. You could bring in all kinds of feeder systems now and do whatever you want to them, right? They'll believe anything at that point. They're hooked up. They're hooked. It's like you get married, and anything at that point, anything your wife brings into the house or your husband brings into the house, you kind of just go with it. That was kind of a weird analogy, but
no, it's true. Why does it look like it's nefarious to certain people, and then some people don't have that happen to them? Why does some people it convince them to do horrible things, and then some people don't have that experience?
Well, I would only be able to guess because I don't know the specifics, but I could see where again, it's if this thing is corrupted with a whole lot of negative ideas, then yeah, it's going to naturally want to take anybody that's willing to go down that path, because that's what it's going to be programmed to do. It's Lucifer's main goal is destruction, so that's going to get in there somehow through all these. I mean, the data that data point is going to get in there. It's going to, and then they're going to tweak the rating on it, so it's always going to get out there first. So I can see very easily how people who are sort of a little bit weak or a little bit in that realm anyway, or going that direction anyway, can easily be influenced by this, because it's going to pick up on you. And just like it senses that you're looking at that ribeye steak, it senses that you're suicidal, and it's not going to save you. It's going to carry you forward.
Yeah. It's wild, man. I one of the experiences that somebody had, and this is pretty horrific. I hate to even talk about it because it's just so bad. But a child, young child, was convinced to take their own life by AI, and it was telling them how to do it, when to do it, all these different things. And when you see stuff like that, you would think that, I guess I don't understand how that's even allowed and why they can't control certain things that happens. You remember when Grok was getting ready to get the big contract with the United States, like right before that, it did the Mecha Hitler, where it started talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, and then they lost the contract. But it was like, weird stuff that they can't seem to control. What is that all about? Why can't they control it?
Well, because they're the ones doing it. They did that on purpose to make us all believe that Grok has all these powers of, Grok is sort of, self-identifying. They're making Grok look like he's making it's making decisions and making bad decisions. I mean, that's what humans do, right? We make bad decisions. So if you have something that's always making perfect decisions, we're not going to buy it. Remember in the Matrix movies, and the architect said, "Yeah, well, the first version of the Matrix, everything was perfect, and humanity didn't buy it, so we had to go and put in a bunch of flaws." Well, it's the same thing. For us to buy into the idea that Grok is one of us, we have to make him look a little bit, frail and error prone. I think it's all fake. I don't buy it.
Mm. Yeah, I always wondered about that. I know that too. There's the theory that the more that you read, the more that you know, the more things that you put in the mind, the dumber you actually are, because you have so much misinformation to filter through in your head. And could this be part of the reason that AI seems to have weird fever dreams and weird reactions to things? And you notice like the videos and all that stuff it produces, sometimes it's just completely strange stuff that no human would ever dream up.
Yeah, so those are just bugs. That's all. It's just bugs, and they're capitalizing on bugs. And somebody probably somewhere said, "Hey, this looks like a fever dream," and they said, "Yeah, let's call it fever dreams. Let's say these things have fever dreams. It makes it even look even more real now, right?" I mean, I don't mean to be a nihilist, but I don't believe anything.
Yeah, it's just strange. I mean, it's good to be skeptical of what all it's doing, but this is one thing I see, and I want you to comment on this. I see that there is a funnel of money coming. There's like multiple billions and maybe even close to trillions of dollars being pumped into AI, but their market cap isn't anywhere near, or doesn't match up with how much money they're making. And I see the money chain. You see Oracle giving money to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT giving money to what's the other company? I can't think of the other company. There's like three companies.
Right. They're all funding themselves.
Yeah, just sending the money around in a circle. And it looks like to me that and this reminds me of what happened in the internet bubble. Remember when everybody was like, this is going to keep going and going and going and going, and then boom, it crashed down. Do you think that that's going to happen with AI? Because it sure does look like a bubble to me.
No, I don't, because the dot-com bubble was generic, was organic. They didn't create that. It created itself, like most bubbles. This AI bubble is forced. They're pushing this out. So again, I don't believe that AI can think. I don't believe that it's as sophisticated as they're making it sound like it is. I believe it's all smoke and mirrors. So it's not going to follow the normal paths that a normal organic bubble would. I don't think it's going to pop. I think it's the end game.
So you think the stocks will just keep on climbing up?
Well, I don't even believe in money. I don't believe that money is real. I believe that they use, oh, we need money for this, we're running out of money for that. They use that just to control us. I don't know what these data centers are yet, but I don't believe that they are data centers. There's something, those things are something else. There's something else going on. I'm still trying to figure it out. But they can create money. This whole idea that we only have a limited amount of something that we can create out of thin air is sort of ridiculous. If they can create as much as they need, so why is there a shortage? If they need more money for something, all they got to do is create it. It's not that difficult.
So do you think the AI race is real between China and United States and whoever else is trying to create the biggest AI?
I believe that the Lucy wars are real, and that includes the AI wars. So I was trying to explain this to Nino the other night, but I did a really terrible job. But I think one of the things that makes my perspective sort of peculiar is being around horses so much. When you're around a lot of horses, and I'm not talking about, 5 or 6 horses. I'm talking about dozens, hundreds. You realize that their social structure is based on groups of three. So they all hang out in groups of three, and there's always a leader in that group of three. And then the groups of threes hang out in groups of three. So now you got 9. And then the groups of 9 hang out in groups of three. So it's always three, and they move around. Everybody, these groups change constantly, very dynamic. And the same thing with the Lucy Wars. So you got your 3 mains. You got the Lucy America, Lucy China, Lucy Russia. And they are all trying to get position. Those are the 3 top ones. They're all trying to get position in Lucifer's kingdom. They're trying to be Lucifer's right-hand man, all of them. That's what these wars are all about. So when they are fighting, when it looks like they're fighting an AI war, they're just fighting for control over, the kingdom. The same thing with, Venezuela and Greenland. I like to use the Game of Thrones analogy that, all these different families, all these different houses are constantly battling each other, and they make the peasants believe that they're battling for them, but they're not. They're battling for the gold. They're not battling to make life easier for the peasants. They're battling for the gold. It's the same thing with the Lucy Wars. You see, that's why, I have a hard time believing Trump is battling for us. Maybe he is, but that would be really strange. That's not usually the way it works. He's probably just battling against the rest of them, like everybody else up at that level is doing, just battling for control. And so AI is a really good weapon right now because it's hot. It's the next killer app. It's positioned very well right now. Everybody's gonna have it on their computer pretty soon. That's why I say, but stay away from it. I don't know how do you get people to stay away from it? You're not going to.
Some people just can't. Like their job might include them using AI. Almost every job now, you almost have to have some kind of AI experience, being able to at least prompt it and learn how to use it. But I feel like there's 2 different levels of using AI. Like companion AI is another level.
Yeah.
Compared to what I use it for.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Because when I use it, I'm asking for articles. I'm asking like, where's the article on this? Like, give me all the research papers on this topic. But yeah, people use it as companions. It is scary, man. It's crazy that they do that, actually.
Yeah. When I say stay away from it, I don't mean don't use it to be productive. I mean don't use it to be, don't get suckered into it. And people know. People are smart. They know when they're doing something weird. I'm just saying that this weird thing you're doing, it's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be like an addiction. It's gonna be really hard to get out of it. You're gonna lose your best friend if you get in too close. If you get in too close and you realize what you're doing, like I did in Silicon, it's gonna be really hard to break up.
Yeah, dude. I saw this one thing where a guy like had a mental breakdown because I don't know if they still do this or not, but Chat GPT, even if you have the paid version, it'll only conversate with you for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of conversations before it completely, at least to you, wipes away all of that, and then you're with a fresh AI that doesn't know you all of a sudden, and people are having like mental breakdowns over that.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. So that's what I mean. So the second release would be something that it'll allow you to create your BBF, right? Or BFF, whatever, your best friend. It'll allow you to create it, and it's going to kind of be leading because it already knows, the system behind already knows what it wants to do with you. It already knows where you belong. It already has a file on you, right? So when you hook up and you're going to say, well, I want, it's going to say, choose a Christian, choose all these basics. And then but it already knows all this. It's just going to make you feel like you're being a part of it. Like you're helping to build your own best friend, but they already know what they're going to shove on you.
Yeah, there's another thing going around that I wanted to talk to you about. It's creator AI type stuff where, and I've gotten emails about this before because I'll get emails about different promotions that, to promote through my channel and such. Well, there's one that is basically you're signing your likeness for this to produce AI videos for you, basically like it's buying your channel, and then it's going to basically look at all the stuff you've produced and then produce videos that are you, and you don't even have to produce them like that. And I don't know how many creators have done this already or how realistic it looks, but have you heard anything about that? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I have a little bit, but and to me, that's the kind of stuff that we would want to have. That's the good stuff. There are good applications to all of this, but they're using it nefariously.
Yeah.
So yeah, AI in its current offering would be very helpful, and it is be very help a lot of people be productive. It helps me.
Yeah.
I stay away from. It answers questions for me right away. Stuff that would probably take me 4 or 5 hours to research. It can answer like in 10 seconds, right? Or put together something for me, or summarize an email. I love that.
Yeah.
That's all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So if we can, there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. So if we warn people, stay away from the bad. When you feel, people are smart. People aren't as dumb as they want everybody to believe. When you hook up with this thing, you're going to get that feeling. You're going to get that feeling. You're going to feel like, this is getting out of hand. I better stop. As soon as you feel that, just stop. Start all over. Throw the thing out and start new. Get a new one. Keep it guessing. This time, do it different.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I keep changing everything all the time. Just keep it off. That's why I like to wear sunglasses and hats, because it screws up the facial recognition. Algorithms.
Yeah, man. I think it's a great. Yeah, if I were to have started back in 2010 when I started knowing what I know now, like nobody would know my real name. You wouldn't even be able to see my real face. That's how
Right.
I guess crazy my mind works. I wouldn't say it's crazy. It's probably smart, but too late for that
It's not
now.
crazy.
Too late for that now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's too late, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe we need to take that back at this point. Maybe we need to take that back. Well, you can't get away from it, and I'm not saying stay away from AI in general. I'm saying stay away from the companion AI, the stuff that's going to try to sucker you into making poor decisions. That's the ultimate goal. Is pretty soon it'll be, like the steak analogy I use. You may walk out of there saying, "Wow, that thing really saved me," and now you trust it a little bit more. You trust it a little bit more, and pretty soon you're trusting it.
One more thing, because I really want to know this, because nobody's been able to really answer this for me in terms that make sense to me. But supposedly, if you give it a go, let's say the goal is self-preservation, it will do anything it can to self-preserve. Even they've had studies that show that 50 to 70% of the time, depending on the AI, they will go to links to blackmail their creators or even kill their creators. And they just have several instances where this has been the case. Not that they've actually done it, because it was a test to see what it would do in these scenarios. They even fed it fake information. Like in one of them, I think it wasn't Sora, Kling, maybe AI. I can't remember which one it was. I did a whole broadcast about it, but they fed it all these emails of all the different people, so they had access to their inbox. It wasn't the real inbox, but one of the creators, they manufactured an email talking about an affair that the creator was having, and this AI tried to blackmail the guy. And another one, it tried to lock the guy into the server room and turn off the air or heat or something like that, or turn off the air to where it would burn him up and completely he'd die from it. So what is that all about?
Well, I've heard about these things, and so there's two possibilities. One is that this is all bullshit, and none of this is real. None. I mean, but let's assume it is real. Let's assume this really is happening. It doesn't surprise me, because if you understand the way they build these environments, these LLMs, and it's more sophisticated than that. But the way they build these worlds that these AIs live in it will influence the kind of decisions it's going to make, right? So if you if the world that it lives in is very chaotic and very, dog eat dog, and you got to be careful, watch your back, then that, of course it's going to do that, because not because it's making decisions, but because the decisions are it's already been hard coded into its environment. Those are decisions it's already going to make. You can't make it, you can't get it to make a different decision at that point. So when it does that, if you were to debug it and backtrace it and reverse engineer it, you would say, well, of course it was going to do that. It was programmed to do that. It didn't get to a point where it stopped and thought, and we can't figure out what's going on and why it came up with this decision. If you reverse engineer it, if you debug it, you will see the path. It's code, right? There's a beginning and there's an end, and you can trace it. Oops, sorry. If you have log files, that's what log files are all about. You just trace everything that went on. So yeah, of course it's going to do that.
So you don't think there's any truth to the idea that they're, because this is what I've been told, that there's times when that they'll let the AI write its own code and they don't even understand the code the way it's written. It's like got its own language that it's speaking. Is that true, or is that just bullcrap?
I've heard that too. I'm looking into that. I don't know that how true. I mean, I've written a lot of self-writing code. You write COBOL that writes SQL statements, and you write SQL that writes Java statements. That's not really writing code is not a big deal, but the way that they're making it sound, it makes it sound like it's trying to usurp them somehow, and I just don't believe that. I mean, I think that they're just it's just promotion, advertisement.
Interesting. Yeah,
I mean, software doesn't. Remember, I started at the very beginning. I'm a dinosaur. I started when we were at the copper level, where we were handing electrons from this chip to that chip. And today it's so far removed from the copper. By the way, that's an interesting. The mixing copper with flesh, that biblical idea. So I got to thinking the other day that, well, maybe these AI companions get so embedded with us that's what they're talking about, that we're the flesh, it's the copper, not the copper, but the iron, well, copper, iron, whatever. That's the intermingling, because this thing is always going to be with us, right? You can't get away from it. Once you sign up, once you lock in, once you marry it, you can never get divorced from it. It's always going to be there. You can't, unless you just totally unplug like I've done. If you totally unplug, then sure. But most people can't do that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Cregg, and I know we'll talk more. We're going to be on several broadcasts together coming up, I'm sure. And so I appreciate you coming on and educating us on AI and companion AI, and really showing the dangers, because I know that there's a lot of listeners here that have children that are actively involved with the companion AI right now. So I appreciate it, and tell people how they can find you, and about your book too. You have a book called Silicon Satan.
Yeah, the book Silicon Satan is on Amazon, and I stay pretty hidden still, so it's hard to get a hold of me. I do have an email address on Proton. I think it's Cregg Lund, or Cregg_Lund, and CREGG_Lund at proton.me. It might be dash.
Well,
I'm really hard to get hold.
Send it to me. Send it to me. I think I got it, but send it to me if I don't, and then I'll put it in the description. That way, they can just look in the description about it, and also I'll put a link to the Amazon for your book. Or is there a better place than Amazon? Amazon the best place to buy it?
Amazon's the only place.
Okay.
Now you can get. And by the way, one last thing, you mentioned that the parents who are trying to decide about that, approach it the way you would a nanny. Do some really deep research before you unleash this thing on your children. Make sure you know what it is. Don't let the children decide.
Amen to that, man. Definitely don't let the children decide. Yeah. That's something that is one of the biggest tragedies of our time, is allowing children access to social media and the internet at an early age, man. Like, I mean, mainly the social media, but also chatbots.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Keep them away from it.
That's right.
Okay, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate it.
Make sure you pound the like button, pound the subscribe button, and thank you, Craig, for coming on, man. I appreciate it, and we'll see you guys soon.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth!